So who's mad at me? You're mad at me? You'll have to get in line. You'll have to get in line if you're mad at me. You will have to get in line.
Being deposed tomorrow. Among the terms for Hillary Clinton's agreement to comply with this congressional subpoena and participate in the panel's Epstein investigation, she will agree to engage in questions about Epstein and Maxwell's efforts to exploit their connections to powerful figures such as the Clintons to protect themselves from accountability for their alleged sex trafficking crimes, the person said. The oversight panel has also agreed to discuss the government's mishandling of the Epstein case, which began in Florida long after Bill Clinton left office. Notably, the list agreed upon issues does not include unrelated topics that have long been a fixation among Republicans, such as...
All right, boring. Yeah, no real news there. Sorry, normally I check before I go live just if there's something happening, and it doesn't seem like it. Let me sign in so we can have some quotes. And I don't have that. I'm just running out of things to say on Railtown, but I don't get. Somebody said yesterday to me, "I still like Railtown." Absolutely. Railtown is the one stock to have if you're having more than one. Railtown, it's the one stock to own if you're owning more than one. Railtown. It's the only thing. If you want one idea and you want to only own one thing, it's Railtown. But enough time has gone by that other ideas and other situations start crowding in. And frankly, I kind of get bored talking about the same thing over and over again. But that's what I'm here for, and I'm glad to do it. Finger is down 5 cents at $1.18. Railtown is up almost a penny, 0.0095. That's pretty much a penny at 31.68. Help, HLP, is $1 and 0.079, slightly in the green. GDC is down 24 cents at 388.99. Nixie is up almost 3 cents at 58.98. The time is 2:49, and the markets are flat. No, the NASDAQ is crushed, down 270. So that must be that NVIDIA sold off. I thought NVIDIA's earnings were good. Let's see what Yahoo. NVIDIA stock falls as earnings beat fails to satisfy. I'm the ice cream man. The AI giant saw sales soar above 68 billion. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Mortgage rates under 6%. AI stocks at crossroads. Crossroads. They all look the same. And the gypsy flies. NVIDIA CEO, we're now the largest networking company in the world. I don't know if I can get Investors Business Daily. Oh, maybe I can. No. In 2026, investors prefer data center plays over AI chip suppliers amid intensified semiconductor competition. Among the top performing AI stocks last week were Lumentum Holdings, Ciena, and Veritiv Holdings. Earnings reports due this week from NVIDIA, Snowflake, Salesforce, CoreWeave. All right. It's not that interesting. Investors are scrutinizing capital spending hikes by hyperscalers, including Google and Oracle. Shares pull back amid worries that the hyperscalers are building too much AI infrastructure too quickly. When you listen to Jensen and others, I don't think that's possible, but it's a risk. Four hyperscalers, Google, Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft, are now expected to spend $645 billion this year. Google may still have positive free cash flow this year, but Amazon or Meta may not. OpenAI is finalizing a funding round which could raise over $100 billion from investors, including Amazon, which would bring relief to the stock price of companies like Oracle, Microsoft, CoreWeave, and NVIDIA. Because there's worries out there that the ChatGPT builder won't live up to commitments on data center build out. Crossroads. They all look the same. Oh no, that's not what it is. Crossroads seem to come and go. The gypsy flies from coast to coast, knowing many, loving none, bearing sorrow, having fun. But back home he'll always run to sweet Melissa. Freight train, each car looks the same, all the same. And no one knows the gypsy's name. No one hears his lonely sighs. There are no blankets where he lies. In all his deepest dreams, the gypsy flies with sweet Melissa. Again the mornings come, again he's on the run. Sunbeams shining through his hair, appearing not to have a care. Well, pick up your gear and gypsy, roll on, roll on. Crossroads, will you ever let him go? No, no, no. Will you hide the dead man's ghost, or will he lie beneath the clay, or will his spirit float away? But I know that he won't stay without Melissa. Yes, I know that he won't stay without Melissa. All right, let's go down the comment tree. I would guess right now that we're right around 18,060,000 shares. I did not update it. Not on purpose, I just forgot. Hey, Steve, Julie Kim, hola. Ricky Brogan, how are you? Justin Babish, I bought, good for you. You're catching up with Donna. Donna's position is the what do you call it? There's a word I can't even. I don't know what goes on in my brain, but it's it's the exemplar. It's the standard that we should all seek. So Justin bought 2,100. That's a great price. Do you know you're paying under 32 cents today for something a year ago cost 38, 39 cents, a little bit over a year ago. And in that time, they bought AIP Network Partners, a company that in 1 year, the revenue could pay for the whole purchase, and then that revenue will last for years. They've apparently got a massive hookup with Telus that we're waiting to hear the fruits of. And two guys invested in Railtown, essentially at these prices, who are the top 1% of technology investors in Canada. And you're getting the stock cheaper than you could buy it a year ago. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Good job, Justin. Good job. Pete the Greek, Oopa. Oopa back at you. Pat says hi, William, and all. Hi, Pat. Joe Marty, hey, William. Ralph Fan says some good news on MMTLP. All right, let's see if we can find it. I'll look up under KTEL. No, Jen Kapalis. I'll try to look her up. E. Belanger, 1,700 more cash cows. Good for you. Let me try to fix that because I think I won't lose any messages if I do. Good for you. That's awesome. Fast Eddie, good day to you. Giuseppe. Giuseppe, I've been averaging down after averaging up all last year. That's the way to do it. You guys are turning into professionals. That's what you're turning into. You're turning into professional investors. You are. That is what you're doing. Or let me, I don't think I really have anything to show you, but let me see if I do. Crossroads seem to come and go. Gypsy flies coast to coast. Do women fall in love with the men the way men fall in love with women? I don't think so. I'm sure it's painful and joyous both ways, but I think it's different. Let me show you my chart of Railtown. Very simple chart that I did this morning. That doesn't have much of a point on it. There's a point. There's a point right there. This green line, to me, when you look over here at the beginning of the year, that was resistance. And you can see it during the year. The stock came up to that green line and failed, up to it and failed. And back here, sort of end of last year, beginning of this year, it's tried to get above that green line. I mean, if you want to count it, you could say 1, 2, 3, but you could also just say 1, 2. Just depends on how you want to see it. I see it as 1, 2, 3 times it failed, and then the fourth time it broke through and it busted out of this town to win. But then it ran up against the 200-day moving average, and all the computers are set there, so they sold it down. So anyway, that green line, I think, was resistance. And of course, the computers bring the price back down, the heaviness, to test that resistance to see if it is now support, or can they bust it through? Like that braggart the other day, he said it would be 25 cents by tomorrow. Well, we don't know for sure, but I think the stock, after 1, 2, 3 times trying, again, you might count that as only 2 times trying, but whatever. 1, 2, 3 and failing. Finally, on the fourth try, or maybe it was the third, it broke through, went up here to the 200-day moving average, but it's completely natural, particularly when there's the program selling without remorse, that it would pull back and test what was resistance now becomes support. And so far, it's kind of hung right in there on the green support. I mean, anything can happen, but that's a pretty bullish sign, I think. Now, the yellow line is probably more reflective of resistance for the last 12 months. And I started it over here, ended it over here. You could use the yellow line to do the same calculation that I just did. It's just a slightly different price range. But in that case, it tried to break through once, twice, and then the third time it did. But it didn't. This pullback is to the top of that yellow line. So you can choose which one of those is more accurate, but it doesn't. It's the same message. The stock broke through resistance to the upside. The market is now testing that previous resistance as support. Once it's through with that, I expect the stock will break up here. Using that rule of thumb, it could be one more time testing this 200-day moving average. It could be two more times and falling back a little bit. But probably by the fourth time, it'll break out. And I think you're headed, well, right here, I didn't draw a line, but right in there is a lot of clustering. And that's around 40 to 47 cents. You might have a stalling in here, but I don't think so. I think most of the selling, the weak selling, has already happened. And I think once it breaks through here, yes, it might be a few days, but I think it's going to go back to the highs. And I'm really not sure this time that the highs are going to pose any problem to the price of the stock. In the purple lines, those are, declining wedges drawn very inartfully. But the one in the middle of the year, the breakout didn't do much. It broke out, and they came back to test it. And the support failed, and they brought it down to the 200. Look, the computers trade within parameters, and they use the same BS that every day trader gives you, and it works because everyone uses the same stuff. It doesn't make you rich, it just makes you churn a bit. But it did break out of this last declining wedge fairly nicely in retrospect. So I think if you want to count it like an Elliott curve or something, you've got one up, two down, the next one, three will be up here something, four down, and then five. And maybe it has 7 waves. All right, let's see what else I have here. Is this the one? Yeah, I thought this was interesting news on Telus. Telus Digital published a story, the robustness paradox, showing that persona prompting can shift large language model moral judgments and produce inconsistent responses. The study evaluated 16 model families and found moral robustness is driven by model family, while moral susceptibility rises with model size within a family. And so the findings highlight enterprise risk for high impact uses, and I crossed through it, I guess, recommends careful model selection, recommends ongoing testing, and it recommends guardrails. I think this guardrails here is conductor and continuous red teaming with tools like Fuel IX Fortify. Well, I think this is also where Railtown sits. I was thinking about Fuel IX this morning. I think Fuel IX is not a competitor for revenue because Fuel IX is already owned by Telus. So it's already in the revenue stream. So I don't think it's a direct competitor out of gross revenues. It is part of gross revenues already. I think I got the next ones a little bit out of sequence. Okay, I'm going to come back to that one. Come back to that one. All right, this Ward sent me these, I think this morning, it might have been last night. Telus Digital, which is formerly part of Telus International, provides comprehensive digital transformation, AI data solutions, and customer experience. That's CX. I think CX is also the stock symbol for a rail company, but I could be wrong. CX, so customer experience services to global brands. Telus Digital blends AI-powered technology with human expertise to build digital products, optimize life cycles, and enhance customer interactions through digital strategy, design, and automation. Key services and functions include AI data solutions, digital CX and transformation, intelligent automation, customer experience, trust, and safety services. Telus Digital serves industries such as technology, gaming, finance, healthcare, travel, and it focuses on improving user experiences. That's what you want. A company that focuses on improving user experiences. I don't think there's much of a market for companies that focus on degrading the user's experience and scaling digital operations. Remember that scaling. Scaling could be that revenue, once it starts to flow in size, could ramp very quickly. Just remember that. It's in their own words. Telus Digital provides proprietary software platforms and integrates third-party enterprise tools to deliver AI and customer experience solutions. Their software strategy focuses on Fuel IX, a central engine for managing generative AI across businesses. Yet, they made a deal with Railtown. So I think these are complementary roles, not competitive. Fuel IX, an enterprise-grade Gen AI engine used to manage, monitor, and scale AI applications. It includes Fuel IX Core, a control plane for managing LLMs like OpenAI, Google, and Meta into one system. Fuel IX Copilots, no-code tools for employees to create custom AI assistants for tasks like copywriting or coding. Fuel IX Agent Trainer, an AI-powered simulator that uses role-playing to train customer service agents. Fuel IX Fortify, a security module that scans AI applications for vulnerabilities and risks. Ground Truth Studio, a proprietary data annotation platform that combines AI-assisted labeling with human expertise to train machine learning models across text, image, and video. A lot of this sounds like what Railtown's doing. I just think it's in a different part of the stack, as they call it. Sovereign AI Factory, high-performance infrastructure designed for businesses requiring data residency and security within Canada. Um, Telus Digital often implements and manages software from major technology partners to build custom client solutions, customer experience. They integrate Salesforce, Zendesk, Adobe, automation. They use UiPath and Automation Anywhere for robotic process automation, cloud and infrastructure. They manage deployments on AWS, Google Cloud, and Microsoft Azure. Would you like to know more about pricing models for these platforms? No. Telus Digital operates as a global systems integrator and strategic consultant, which means they partner with top-tier technology companies to build and manage solutions for their clients. Salesforce, Telus Digital is a premier Salesforce implementation partner. They expanded this by acquiring Gerent, a major Salesforce consultancy, to help businesses implement agentic AI. You know, I wonder if this makes Telus a natural buyer of Railtown. Zendesk, they are a Zendesk solution provider and implementation partner. Palo Alto Networks, Prisma and Cortex platforms, UiPath, robotic process automation. Why they partner instead of building everything, instead of trying to replace a massive tool like Salesforce. Telus Digital adds a layer on top of it, and that saves time, and it wins the beach. Salesforce provides the database and customer relations management. Telus Data provides the experts to set it up. Fuel iX, Telus's own product, provides the specialized AI that makes the Salesforce data more useful for employees. Other notable partners: ServiceNow, AWS, Google Cloud, and SAP. And that's it for my lecture today. That's it. Julie, I sent it to you. Maybe I have the wrong email. I sent it twice. I sent it the first time, and I updated. I sent it a second time with better terms for you, better deal. Can you email me your email? Because I thought I sent it to you. Maybe I confused you with a different email, possibly. Just send it to my name, farrandbalanced@gmail. Anybody that's interested in it, send me a reminder. I spent a lot of time at the bank. The security setup they have is amazing. So I'm going to go. Just send it, if you can send your email, just in case. I must have the wrong email for you, Julie. Julie came. Farrandbalanced@gmail. you know how to spell balanced, and that's Farrand, Farrand, Farrand Balanced at Gmail. I'll do it again. I'll do it tonight. I've several people have called, sent money. I want to get to 100,000 before I wire, but I'm not there. So I may, depending on where it is tomorrow, middle of the day, maybe after lunch, I'll just send what's there. Hopefully it'll be something that has some heft to it. But anyway, yeah, I'll get that out to you. I'm sorry, I really thought I had sent it. Neil, hi Bill, and other RT investors march around the corner, so we're getting closer to revenue reports. Excited to see what happens next. Great chart analyses. Yeah, I can BS with the best of them. Yep, you're right. Tomorrow is the last day. Tomorrow is the last day of the month. Right there. Last day of the month. So the heaviness is going to try to keep it down so they can show their clients and they can show the people that lend them the money, lend them the stock, and their compliance. Hey, this one's in the green. But they may keep that pressure on next week as well. Look, if they can make $500 a day mining the stock against the suckers, we're the ones that believe regulators care, our brokerage firms care. We're the ones that have to follow the rules. They don't. They own the attorneys. They own the regulators. They lie, and they're cocky about it. But hey, it's worked for 20 years, 15 years. If Omar Ilan can go from 0 to 30 million overnight, I guess they figure, why can't we cheat? Then society breaks down. Everybody cheats. But I'm excited to see what happens in March as well. It might be the middle of March. And I'll tell you what, that's like any college student waiting to the end of the semester. But sometimes that's when you do your best work. I really think that Railtown I guess there's always a chance that somebody's talking about buying the company. That's always possible. But I think the path ahead is that Railtown is sitting on top of a slumbering giant. And to use the words of Admiral Yamamoto, paraphrase, we're just waiting for that sleeping giant to awake. And once new clients and new users and revenue come flowing in to Telus like a giant electric trunk line or computer line, Railtown's performance can ramp like a reverse ski slope or like a hockey stick or like the other side of a roller coaster. It's going to be fun to watch, I think. And the question is how, it's not whether we hear about it per se, it's how quickly do the quants see the numbers, whether it's at Microsoft or NVIDIA or at the Fidelity group of funds or Kathy Ark at her Follow the Crowd fund. If they start seeing it and they start projecting, they see revenue ramping, they go, my gosh, it's gone from here to here and it could be there, I better buy it. That's when you're going to start seeing the stock price move. Hi, T. Alex. T. Alex, Railtown increasingly positions itself as an industrial grade AI provider. Well, Shirley, don't call me Shirley. AI providers either too broad or just non-specific. But yeah, I get what you're saying about industrial grade. It scales, T. Alex. Railtown scales. It can handle the load. T. Alex, unlike general consumer AI, Railtown focuses on observability and root cause analysis, which are essential for industrial sectors like manufacturing, finance, and healthcare, where error costs are high. Oh, hi, Julie. I didn't receive. Okay. Alternative, maybe later tonight I can call you and make sure I have the correct email. I'm sure it's me. It's always is. I leave something off or misspell something. So we'll get that fixed tonight or first thing in the morning. While its primary industry is classified as business productivity software, it applies machine learning to optimize physical world logistics. That's very powerful. Physical world logistics means rail engine and operations such as rail logistics and freight efficiency. There is a company out there called Rail. That's the national, I think it's the national train company of Canada. I don't think it's in the United States. And its symbol is RAIL. Maybe you're reading that part of it from them. I don't know. Matthew Collar, where are you getting this info? He might be asking you, T. Alex. If you're asking me, I get my information different places. But some of what I read came from Ward's hard work. He sent it to me. And then trying to remember everything I talked to you about. Yeah. I try to always footnote where I'm getting the thoughts I get, other than the ones that there's some political commentary or social commentary that I sometimes make, which I can only attribute to my Luddite brain. Giuseppe, I'm a bit jealous, but I'm railed out at the moment. Yeah, Giuseppe, I sent it to you, and I understand that. It's it's an interesting dilemma because I'm not trying to tell people not to do Railtown. But I talked, as it happened, the guy called me. I talked to the company yesterday, and I'm absolutely convinced it's going to work. That doesn't mean there's no risk. And I don't want to say that. But it's bigger. It's bigger than Railtown, but it's not as liquid as Railtown. That's the thing. But the upside is just gigantic. But that doesn't mean that. I think what's going to happen is this. I was talking to somebody else, and it's a perfect way of describing it. The pilot plant is a proof of concept. And once that's proven, it's not going to be in these prices or anywhere near these prices. And but the multiples on valuation, and I really mean it. I'm not trying to get anyone away from Railtown, but the multiples are just, should it work, the upside puts, look, I think Railtown is going to have a great March, although it might be the end of March. But if we focused on the second quarter instead, I think Railtown could get to a visible forward 12 months of revenue of 100 million to 150 million, maybe more. And that's, people who want to buy the company or big funds that want to own it, they're not going to limit their analysis to the next 12 months. They're going to look to 2027, 2028. They might have a 5-year target, a 10-year target. And in that kind of time frame, I think the company will be able to, well, analysts, whether they're internal or analysts who publish their results, internal to a hedge fund or an acquirer, I think analysts will be able to extrapolate 250 million annual revenue, and it might happen in the third quarter. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to even produce at that run rate. I'm saying that based on the production of revenue starting in March over the next several months, the ramping upward, the stickiness of it, the momentum of it could allow quants to project big numbers. And if you take, let's say they project in 2028, Railtown's going to do 250 million in ARR, and they're willing to give that a 35 multiple today. That's almost $9 billion. And we don't really know the fully diluted number, but if I assume 2.25, that's a 38.88. Call it $40 from here, or call it 38.88. You divide it by 33. That's 117x from here. It's possible. It's possible. The risk to that, getting that 117%, is, I think it's going to happen to the value of the company. But the risk is, will it occur in the public market, or how much of that will occur in the belly of the beast that swallows Railtown. I don't know. I think 100x is a legitimate target for your investment in Railtown, with that caveat that, maybe it gets bought out at 50x, and then you've got that remainder happens inside the belly of the beast, which is great, but it might be because the beast is so big, the performance in the beast's stock might not be that equivalent to you. So while Railtown might show a valuation increase to 100x or higher, by the way, inside a Microsoft, you might not get that last doubling or tripling of the stock because Microsoft might not double or triple. I don't know. We'll just have to play that by ear. But I think the moving the stock, Railtown I'm talking about, from today's valuation to a Lang chain valuation of last summer, personally, it's not a promise, it's a prediction. But personally, I think that's a slam dunk once the story gets known. Well, that's $5 or $6. It's basically 20x from here at 6 something. I think it also almost assuredly goes to Lang Chain's next round valuation, which I will expect that Lang Chain will raise money this year, and I'll bet it'll be in between $2 and $3 billion dollars valuation. I know it's all made up amongst the people that all went to school together, but that's over $10 a share, and I think that's going to happen. A buyout of Railtown it's really trickier. It depends on who buys, when it happens. Because of the short sellers, because of the heaviness, the counterfeiting of shares, there are no legitimate votes anymore. So whatever management wants to do is probably going to happen. My understanding is Microsoft, any level of Microsoft, if it were an army or it were a navy, call it officer, an officer of Microsoft. It's not the exact word, but all the way down through the system, people who have authority can buy a company on their own authority up to some number. It's below $500 million. So I think there's a risk that you're going to get a Microsoft offer from some hotshot department head, because she's going to want to make a name for herself. Maybe at 350 million. I don't know. I hope the company doesn't take something like that. So that's a risk. I think it's a low risk, but it's there. I think if there's a buyer for Railtown, I personally do not see how how other buyers will not show up. So it's either going to be a friendly bidding contest or a heated bidding war. Well, if it were to happen today, it could be that low number. But I don't think at this point, why would Corey or Marwan fall for that? They're on the verge of seeing they built this product to scale. Telus has built their data center to scale. NVIDIA has built its stack to scale. And we're on the verge of seeing what happens. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think more likely is there's probably a couple, 2 or 3 parties sniffing around because AI is a hot space. Just because we don't know it, God, these people are talking. There's pillow talk, there's bar talk, there's late at night talk, there's at the gymnasium talk, there's rumors, there's conferences, there's lunch over, talk over lunch. It's happening. So I think the buyers that are obvious for Railtown are Telus, Microsoft, Constellation Software. Those are obvious. Now, how much further does it go? Does an AMD want to get involved? Does an AWS want to get involved? Does a Google want to get involved? Does a robotics company like Tesla want to get involved? Does a big consulting firm want to buy it? A McKinsey, I don't know. So if bidding comes in next quarter, April, May, June, I personally do not see one company being able to sneak this purchase by other companies. I just don't see it. My color on it is that I think revenue is going to be monthly. I think revenue is going to be visible. And I think revenue is going to ramp like a mofo. It's going to be unbelievable. It's going to shock people. You may have a different view, but that's what my view is. So if they can wait till the middle of the second quarter last month, let's say 90 days from now, I think 100 million or better forward revenue for 12 months, ARR, for Railtown is entirely within the sights of the measurement for performance. And I think the growth from there, depending on how critical Railtown is, how strong their IP is, what the battle is, who wants it, all of that, I think the growth in that revenue, I mean, it could project over 5 years or a decade into billions of dollars. So anyway, I think you could see offers come in for Railtown next quarter. I just don't see how one company is going to be able to sneak by a low order offer. But on the other hand, if someone buys it next quarter, I don't see the price being my stratosphere numbers either. So if I had to guess, a second quarter offer is going to come in the $15 range, plus or minus $5, with a broad, maybe I should say plus or minus $7.50. It would be discouraging, but an offer might come in at $7 or $8 a share. On the other hand, it might come in at 22.5. But it would center, I think, around sort of $12.50, $15 if something happens next quarter. Well, if we call it $15, that's 45x from here. That's just huge performance. And so I think Railtown is just fine. But what Giuseppe, where I am, timing doesn't always work for everything. Ideally, we'd have Railtown go to $100 a share, and then we would have our choice of doing things at that point. I don't think this particular situation is going to wait. So I'm trying to make sure it remains available to us. Now, let me just run through the numbers. So let me finish on Railtown. If an offer comes in the second quarter of this year, I would expect it would take at least 90 days of back and forth to close it, end of the August would be vacation time. Probably be September, something like that. So it's probably 6 months at least. That's all in the best case. Everything could get stretched out. And that's my best case scenario as I see it for Railtown. Now that $15 is beautiful, but in a way it's disappointing, because what if Telus buys us at $15 of stock? We get a good yield in Telus stock. It would be a nice yield. But what's the upside of Telus stock? Triple? Who knows? Who knows for sure? If Microsoft were to buy us at 15, could Microsoft really double from here? It would take a long time probably, but it's possible. But I don't know. Now, if an AMD bought us or an Intel were to buy us, maybe we could argue for more upside somehow. Or if some other name I can't contemplate right now, like a Salesforce type company, or a consulting company like PwC or something like that bought us. Maybe there's more upside, but I would hope that there'd be a bidding war that got heated, so that $15 gets closer to $30 or $35, and maybe up to that $50 number before it goes into a beast. But let's say it were to get to around $35, that's 100x on Railtown, and then we're in without having to pay taxes. We're in a strong technology company's shares. So that's the best scenario for Railtown. My druthers would be that would all happen, and we would still then have a chance to do the gold company. But gold has more than doubled since we got involved. Can you believe that? More than doubled. The costs haven't gone up. To use what they say in investment banking, the returns are asymmetric. And so the dilemma is, how do I make sure that we can participate now and in the future? In the future, it'll be more expensive, but now it's the nice price. So what do I think can happen there, just to compare it? And I'm not trying to talk you out of Railtown. I really am not. I've been a one story pony for so long. I'm not about to change now. It's just, I can't control the timing of this, of the world. The world goes on. The beat goes on. So anyway, what do I think is going to happen with that? It's a very similar situation. It's a proof of concept. If Railtown proves its concept, the sky's the limit. If it doesn't, I think the price is so low here, it's hard to lose money. But I guess there's a world where it doesn't prove the concept. We have to admit that. I think that's a low odds. It's the same with the gold company. My understanding is, and it has been, all we need to do is prove the concept. And then it's just arithmetic. It's explosive arithmetic. So what do I see happening? If I'm successful, I think by the end of the year, actually probably by the third quarter, the proof of concept will have happened or will be occurring. But I think similarly to Railtown, I think the company will be sold by the end of the year. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to close by then, but I'd say 12 months or so, company's sold. So what's the comparable multiple? I would say at the low end, which means kind of failure of the pilot plant, a sales price would happen so hard to know. I would say, and I give this very low odds because I don't think it's going to happen this way. But, and these are rough numbers because we just don't know. I think at the low end for the gold company, if for some reason the pilot plant methodologies do not work and they have to fall back on the third party assay results, which is different than a commercial process in and of itself, I think the company would still be sold for, and this is a couple of reasons. One, because gold prices are so high. Two, because the natural buyer is 200 miles away. It's Goldstrike. It's Newmont Mining, and Barrick Gold. They currently produce similar resource in gigantic submarine-sized autoclaves, and they would have the confidence that they could make this resource work there. Now, if they really believed it, they'd pay a lot more than what I'm about to tell you. But if they just want to add reserves to their balance sheet and compete with other companies out there, they'll pay a minimum amount in shares. And they'll just put it on their reserves. Not necessarily proven, but it'll be on their investor deck. Anyway, I think if that were to happen, you'll get 30x on your money. Roughly 30x on your money. That'd be about a year away or sooner, but let's just use a year-long time frame. But I think the odds of that happening are very low. I think it's highly likely, and again, that's my opinion. It's a prediction, not a promise, but I've been close to it for a long time, and I'm using my read on the people and what I'm told. It's all you can ever do. I think it's much more likely that the number is going to be, I'll try to be conservative because this could be much more than this. I think it could be 400 times your money, 400x, 500x, and set up a royalty stream for the rest of your life. And that, it's kind of like an on-off switch. It's hard to argue that which I give it A+ odds that the pilot plan is going to be successful. It's hard to argue that this is to try to be conservative on the upside. This number could double or triple. So in other words, it could be 800 times your money. It could be 1,000 times your money and an income stream. So I'm not trying, Giuseppe, I'm not trying to distract you from Railtown at all. I'm just trying to explain to you kind of, it's not so much a dilemma, but the fork in the road that I've hit, and I guess I'm trying to take it because the magnitude, as the guy told me yesterday when I asked him, you know, what's the company going to be sold for? And he just said a fortune. So that's why I'm taking the time. I want to see if we can secure it. I want to prevent others coming and taking this opportunity from us, which is one aspect, but I also don't want to be crammed down. And since you're an investor already, you don't want to be crammed down. So those are my complicated motives. The upside is just many multiples if it works. And like I say, it'll be an on-off switch. I don't think you got to go through a lot of gray if you want to call it black and white. If you want obviously zero can happen in any investment, but I think the Worst case is they have to fall back on sort of standardized, skeptical industry methodologies, and it'll be worth something. And I think that's 30 times your money, maybe 50 times your money a year or so from now. The risks are, if everything falls apart in acrimony and there's lawsuits, I don't see that as a risk at all, because everyone is wealthy. They're all gentlemen. They're all businessmen and women. The other risk is that somebody comes in and steals the company with a shitty deal. I think that's a risk. And that's why I'm fighting to prevent that. And I think we're in a good position, by the way, to prevent it. We're doing it. So anyway, Giuseppe, that's a long answer. I would love that these fit like a glove, and one happened then the other, but and I'll try to make it as much that way as possible, but we just ran out of time for that. So I'm just explaining to you. But Railtown has the chance of working next quarter, or it could be the summer, or it could be next school year. You know, it's the very similar time frames. If Railtown gets delayed, they're both on parallel tracks, and oddly, both of them, the time to own it and get in is now, and both have been delayed. So it's weird, the similarity. But anyway, that's my explanation, Giuseppe. T. Alex, AI-enabled sales. Revenue from AI-enabled services is projected to reach approximately $800 million in 2025 and is predicted to surpass $2 billion. Well, this number, T. Alex, you've hit on. And I'll give you my analysis of it, my interpretation of it. I think that 800 million here, 800 million here, and that 2 billion here, it's all AI enabled sales, but that totality of that revenue, I think it all goes through the data center. And T. Alex, I think that the data is going to be shared. The revenue is going to be shared. All the revenue that goes through the data center is going to be shared with Railtown. So you found it. When I do my calculations, instead of using 2 billion, I use $1 billion. But I think Railtown, my understanding and my processing of what information I have leads me to believe that Railtown will share in all of that revenue. That's how I see it right now. I, of course, could be wrong. I, of course, if I'm corrected, I'll change it. But that's why I start with 1 billion instead of 2. But if it's 2 billion, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The revenue to Railtown is going to be gigantic. And I like your number. That's very cautious. 5% of that is 100 million. Well, what if they get 20% of that? It's 400 million. 15% of it's 300 million. It's really big numbers. These sales are for Telus. Yes, but, and this is what we don't know yet. And so a lot of what I'm saying is speculation. But Railtown has both announced, and I think Telus was part of that announcement, and Railtown has described in a company presentation and in an interview with Dr. Tom Core that Railtown is going to, my words, be on top of the stack. Those are my words. It's probably a different technical term. At Telus's Sovereign AI Data Factory. And they're going to split the revenues. We don't know the terms. We don't know the deal. And maybe we never know the deal explicitly, but we'll start seeing the revenue. So an intrepid analyst will be able to figure it out. And that proof of concept is at Telus. Uniserve is a secondary proof of concept. Uniserve is a secondary proof of concept, just as valuable. So it's exciting. But yeah, you got it. You got it. That's great, Giuseppe. That's great. Lewis Shotland, if our gold company is bought out by a large, will we own shares in the large gold company? Yes. The difference is in mining and in oil and gas, everything comes down to negotiation. But the difference is that we would get, I mean, let's just make an example out of Railtown. Let's say, and I'm totally making it up, I have no idea. But let's say there's a bidding war and lo and behold, there's 3 bidders willing to pay roughly $17, $18 a share in stock, and there's an impasse. And so the company says, all right, if you give us $17.50 in stock and $2.50 in cash, we'll take your deal. So somebody steps up and says, all right, more than we wanted to, but we'll pay $20 a share for Railtown. $17.50 of it will be in stock of Microsoft, and $2.50 will be in cash. That's it. That's our deal. Well, with the gold company, if it all works, and look, we do have to, both cases, we have to see Railtown work on the data center. I think it's going to come through in flying colors. In the case of the gold, we have to see, there's 2 processes, but we have to see the process work in the pilot plant, that's kind of like the data center, and see the proof of concept take gold out of the resource every day for 90 days or 100 days or whatever. if that happens, there'll be a little more involved, but the story will go around just as quickly as the AI story will go around. And so let's just make up a similar scenario. I think it'll be a low number, but let's just use a similar scenario. There's a bidding war, and it comes out that 3 or 4 companies are willing to come in and buy, but Newmont Mining and Barrick Gold really want it. Let's say they do it through their gold strike. They really want it, but let's say I mean, I don't know if any of the royalty companies would get involved. And a couple of the other companies have their own projects. But the major gold companies right now are Barrick and Newmont. I don't know about Agnico Gold or Alamis. Let's just say it comes in, rather than cooperating. Let me not try to come up with the strategy. Let's just say it's a similar end result, that there's 1 or 2 or more than one company willing to pay $17 or $18 a share. And the company would then say, all right, well, we'll take $17.50 in stock and $2.50 in cash. And by the way, I think that if it's all going to depend on results and further proof, but I think that could be low by a multiple. But I'm just trying to make, in this example, I'm just trying to compare it so you see the difference. So if a buyer came in for stock and some cash, the difference is there would probably also be an override. I don't know the answer. I doubt it would be more than an eighth, but that might be too high. Call it 5%. If the company were to produce over the next 40 years 100 million ounces of gold, and in the deal we negotiated an override, you would get another $25 a share in income over time. So that's the difference. The AI deal is not going to have an override, but a gold acquisition is most likely to have an override. And I by the way, I'm not trying to say that the acquisition would be that low of a price, but we'd have to find out. I will say in Railtown's case, there's a possibility that let's say a NVIDIA buys Railtown, but NVIDIA doesn't want the AIP network partners. Maybe Constellation Software comes in to buy the AI network partners, so we might get 2 pieces of paper instead of just one. There's a lot of variety of things that can happen. But yes, it would be the same, Lewis, to answer your question. Richard K., how about we hit $1 first? Well, that's a fine way to look at it. I think it's the wrong way to look at it. Railtown is 32 cents because since February 8th of last year, the company, I was corrected. I called it a quiet period. It's not a quiet period. There is no terminology that exists to describe what the company is in. So the simplest thing to say is since February 8th, there has been some amount of material inside information that has not been made public, and it is of a quality and importance to preclude buying. So on the one hand, there's a complete lack of buying. On the other hand, the Canadian and United States markets are overwhelmed by about 50 to 100 co-conspirators who have rigged the system so they can sell stock that doesn't exist using computerized program selling, and they can cheat, they can spoof, they can lie, they have attorneys that will lie on their behalf, and they can flood the markets daily, intraday, weekly, constantly with stock that doesn't exist. So Railtown's price is down because supply of stock is massively increased by fraud, and the buying is limited because those who know can't buy, and those who don't know can't be told. So I think on the one side, your point is very reasonable. Let's let it get to $1 first. It's obvious. But if you're just looking for $1, you're going to miss out on what's happening at Railtown. Railtown should not be priced at 32 cents. If Railtown were in a private equity channel right now, I think it'd be priced, well, right now, it'd probably be priced at $6. After the Telus data center starts churning, I think it would be $10, $12. And so for you to say, let's let it get to $1 first, the risk I don't want you to do, Richard, is if you are believing that the stock price is telling you something, you fall in the trap of the day traders and the criminals. And then you're going to, as soon as somebody whispers to you, or there's some weakness in the stock, or, somebody says, hey, it's time to buy AME again, you're going to be off chasing that. That's the only thing that works me up. I don't want you to miss the tree for the forest. I don't want you to miss it. And if you think that way, you're going to miss it. I think I just lost hearing in this ear. Stress. That's the only way I'm reacting, not at you, but at that. That kind of thinking is day trader thinking. It's giving credit, which we all do. We think, oh, the price is telling us something. I don't think it's telling you a darn thing. I think it's manipulated. I also think when it gets to $1, you're not going to be immune from selling. Richard, I don't, does it ever get repetitive to hear it? most institutions cannot buy a stock under $1. The entire retail world out there, from wealth advisors to people you pay to manage your money, to your broker, to your managing directors who manage your money, they cannot recommend a stock under $5. It's called the Merrill Lynch rule. If you transfer your account into Merrill Lynch, they're going to tell you to sell everything under $5. So in that milieu, these wiseacres come in and they use high frequency trading, computerized program selling, and they sell stock they don't own in volume, crushing the prices of stock. And if you still think that's a real market, you're going to lose. It's not a real market. If you have somebody like Ham working the phones, Ham can get $1 stock to go to $10. And people might think it's going to go to 300. And, maybe there's a trade there, but it's high risk. MTEN was $27. It was going to go massively. It's under $1. So it's high risk. But that's looking at these stocks as if the market is telling you anything. It's telling you jack. There's no research analysts. There's no trading desk. There's no squawk box calls. There's no retail army out there telling their clients to buy the stock. There's no institutional brokers telling their institutions to buy it. So anyway, I guess I made my point. If Railtown goes to $1, I think it's headed to 10. But I think as it goes to $1, they're going to sell. And if your attitude is, well, it got to $1, let's take some profit, or it got to $1, I'm going to trade it, you might make money. Some people might. But you might miss out on waking up one day and it's at 2.25. But anywhere from $1 to $2 to $3 to $4 to $5, there's going to be different levels of restrictions on people buying, or there's going to be no buyers. And certainly during the period of non-public information, there's a whole block not buying. So it's going to stair step, stutter step, crab sideways as it goes up. It'll go up to 1. I think it'll go through it and it can pull back. But it's not a trading stock. And I'm just so afraid that if you treat it like a trading stock, you're going to miss out. You're going to miss out. But of course, it'd be nice if it went to $1 first. But it bugs me because I spend so much time telling you the story. So you're still, and I'm not saying you, Richard, everybody does it. We just can't help it. We look at the stock price. There's no analyst out there telling anyone. There's no analyst out there telling anyone that, do you know Railtown owns AIP Network. Do you know that Railtown has a deal with Telus on their sovereign data center. There's no analyst telling this. So just on this alone, this network does 500 million in gross revenue. They spend money on hyperscalers. If we estimate the money they spend on hyperscalers at 200 million, I'm making it up, and we can project that that 200 million is going to come to this Telus data center, and we say that that revenue share is 20%. We don't know these, but I think it's all reasonable. There's no analyst out there saying that means just from that one source of revenue that Railtown is going to do 40 million in annual recurring revenue year in and year out. And that is 100% margin. So not only is it revenue, it's profit. No, there's no analyst out there saying that. Now, the other thing we don't know, but if the analyst says that's going to grow at 35% a year, and you may argue this is being too aggressive, but I'm leaving all other revenue out. 40 million at a multiple of 35 gives a Railtown value of 1.4 billion, which isn't a lot of money because you divide that by 225 million. It's $6 a share. Now, what's happening to you, Richard, you see this, but you can't believe it because it's not in the stock price. So you figure that if the stock price goes up, then this starts to be true. I mean, it's obviously there's a bit of that going on, but I'm telling you, this is in the cards. We know all this information. There's no analyst saying it, and I've already told you there's no buying, but we know this is coming. Now, maybe it's not 35x, maybe it's 50x, maybe it's less. That's $6 a share. And I guess what I'm trying to hammer home is, what does it mean? How about we hit $1 first? What does that mean? Just on the AIP network's growing revenue and spend, you could estimate $4, $5, $6 a share in value. But it doesn't show up in the price because it hasn't happened yet. It doesn't show up in the price because the sellers keep suppressing it. It doesn't show up in the price because the buyers can't buy yet. But that's going to change, and you know it. So what are you talking about $1? You should be waiting for 6. When it gets to 6, it'll go to 12. Anyway, that's my point of view. You may not share that point of view. You may think that the best thing to do is to see it in the stock price first. I suggest to you that once the proof of concept comes, once the whatever this blanket is that's covering everything on material information, once that's lifted, once the proof of concept comes in, I, I don't think there's any significance to a dollar. I don't think there's any significance to a dollar. So, but anyway, enough on that. I think you are right. It'd be nice to see a dollar, but you have the story. This is what analysts are going to tell you eventually. And once it crosses $5, the Merrill Lynch rule is gone. I don't see any magic to waiting for the market to show you a dollar. But I guess it is publicly traded, so it helps. It helps to have the confirmation. Ironically, I think a dollar is going to be cheap. And I guess from our experiences, which makes sense, as long as it's down in these price levels, we feel that the heaviness, the shorts doesn't describe it enough, is going to drive it down. Like that guy came on the other day and he says it's going to go to 25 cents. That's the tough back and forth. If you're just looking at the price, you don't have anything to give you strength. But just on the revenue they control, I think this can be, look, the Lang Chain was valued at $1.25 billion post money on an estimated 12 to 16 million in ARR, zero profit. Railtowns is going to be 100% profit. Could you imagine a company making $3 million, $4 million a month cash flow profit? I don't know. I just don't see any significance to a dollar. All right, let's go on. Jack, good afternoon, William. I hope you're well. Don't judge me. I had only a little bit of change. I love it. I love it. 19 shares of Railtown. I love it, Jack. I wish I could do it. I wish I could do it. So you're catching up with Donna. That's why this is going on this long, to make sure you can catch up with Donna. Ward Richardson, good afternoon, William and RT crew. Looking to wrangle up a herd tomorrow. Buy all you can. Dixon Miazzo, I would like to return to the excitement around Railtown and how we're about to see a shift in the AI landscape, such that price movements of $10 a day are typical. I'm not ready to say that, but it's possible, Dixon. Did you read the story, or was it just in a I saw it in 2 or 3 places. I just can't remember where I saw it. But the headlines are that AI agents, if you left, they tested their decision making. If you left it to their decision making, they would drop nuclear bombs. Well, that seems to be hugely important. Another thing that's going to be going on, Dixon, is, or is it Miazzo? Dixon. The other thing that's going to, they're already doing it. They're going to build a web for AI agents, just for AI agents, not human beings. So that if your company had an agent selling timeshares in Puerto Vallarta, And travel agents around the world had agents trying to book those tickets. They would today, it might have already changed, but today they would have to read on our websites designed for the human eyeball and the human experience. In the future, those agents are going to go to a parallel web where they just interact as agents. And the human being's not going to be there. We've already seen, obviously, hallucination, and we've seen bad advice given particularly to young people. I think as our world gets more and more woke, I think there's going to be Orwellian restrictions on what we're allowed to say and what we're allowed to think. And we're just headed that way. We're going to have to agree that there's more than one sex. We're going to have to agree that human beings born with the musculature of a man and the size of a man should be allowed to compete in sports with human beings born with the size and muscles of a smaller person, and call it fair, because they're gonna control that information. Well, either angle you take it, whether you want to protect the world from agents or you want to manipulate information using agents, seems to me you're going to need Railtown. You're going to need Railtown. Israel is going to want to put out that Iran killed 35 people mercilessly by hanging or whatever, and therefore this justifies bombing the hell out of them and causing regime change. Israel is going to want to say that Iran is working toward nuclear bombs, but Israel is not going to want agents communicating to the world that Israel has the nuclear bomb and that Israel just slaughtered 500,000 Palestinians over the last years and put 2 million Palestinians out into the desert without toilets, without medicine, without fresh water, without schools, without a place to hide from the elements, without a place to sleep, without protection, and that Israel mows the grass. They send people up to the top of the wall, just like the scene out of Schindler's List, where that one evil guard would get up, stretch, and take pot shots at human beings for fun. Israel sends soldiers up to shoot, to mow the grass, babies and cripples and young women and young men. But Israel doesn't want that out over the agents. So whether you want to manipulate the news to hide the evil that Israel does, or you want to manipulate the news to exaggerate, or maybe show real evil that Iran does, you're going to want to control information. That's a role for Railtown. That's our future. That's our future. You're going to want to control those agents. And I think in that world, if Railtown is able to prove its utility on the top of this data center and with Uniserve, the whole platform. I think you could, I mean, Dixon, I actually think when I used to sit down with my projections, I actually believe that Railtown is going to be worth $250 to $300 a share. My problem with it is I think the company is going to be bought out before that. And so a lot of that value is going to occur inside the new company. So that's the dilemma. I don't know how many $10 days we're going to have movement of Railtown before it gets bought out. Having said that, I could see a buyout. I think it's possible a buyout could happen in the GitHub level or the Confluence level, and you could be bought out at $50 a share. It's possible. So you're right. You could get 2 or 3 $10 day moves. But I think most of the movement in Railtown's value is going to happen inside of Microsoft or inside of NVIDIA or inside of Oracle, you know. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. Ward Richardson, William, not much more time here. Tick tock, buy all you can. I tend to agree with that. Actually, I don't tend to. I do agree with that. I think the furthest, as they might say in North Carolina, the longest wait you're going to have is 2 more weeks. St. Patrick's Day. I think things are going to start. I think tomorrow the stock will be so-so. And next week it could continue. But I think next week, maybe toward the end of the week, certainly the following week, I think you're going to start seeing the stock move. Ward Richardson, every share counts. Yes, sir. Coulda guy. I sent you an email. All right. I'll get back to you. That's great. I am sorry I get so worked up because I'm so panicked that some of you are going to see Railtown as just one of these other stocks, and that $1 has meaning. Because, you know, the problem is if it goes to $1, they're going to put pressure on it, and it could come back to 70 cents. If it goes to 150, they'll put pressure on it. It could come back to 120. If it goes to, you know, 225, they could bring it back down to 160. And if your mindset is the day trading, I better diversify in all the other manure out there, or I better listen to Tiptoeing Tony, you're going to miss it. That's the reason I get so worked up. It's not that I think less of you or I'm upset. It's just so frustrating. It's hard to get you, or myself, by the way, to believe how corrupt the market is. There is absolutely no one. When I first got involved with him and all this, I thought these high prices are going to come. Because back then there was a compliance officer, there was a regional manager, and there were regulators that would come after you. It doesn't exist anymore. They're all bought out. They're all Elon Omar. They're all Nancy Pelosi. Corruption, as Donald Trump so accurately pointed out, corruption in places like Somalia or Mexico, where bribery, threat of violence, and etc. completely change the country and your living experience. In North America, we take it for granted that doesn't exist. So what do we do now? And excuse me for noticing that it's when women control so much. For the first time in history, they control so many of our institutions collectively. I'm not talking about one here, one there, 10 there. Talking collectively. We go woke. We go woke. So there's empathy. So let's bring in 20 million, 30 million migrants. We fly them into Nicaragua. They come up through Mexico, but nobody's thinking about the decades-old strategy going on in Mexico, in Cuba, in Nicaragua of reconquering, taking back the land that was won by or paid for by the United States, everywhere from Texas all the way up the West Coast. And the strategy is bring in those voters. But you know what bugs me? There's no health check. That's one thing that really bugs me. But if you saw the other day, there's a guy driving down his truck down the highway, wrong direction. He can't even read English. So somewhere between the compassion we have to show for all migrants and the absurdity of opening our doors to people who are coming here to intentionally take the country down, there's got to be, you know what I think the answer is? Do it in the light of day. Do it legally. Have a process. Don't, you know. But anyway, I don't want to get completely political, but what I do think is that we take for granted in the United States that there's no corruption. How did Elon, whatever her name is, how is she worth 30 million in 1 year? How does the woman that worked for Obama, Samantha Power, why is she worth 60 million? How does that Georgia Stacey Abrams, why was she given 2 billion? Why is the crack son of Joe Biden giving billions of dollars to manage when he's the vice president of the United States? Corruption is coming here. And it's all in this feel-goody, we've got to have compassion. Well, I'm all, just to be clear, I don't think we should go after people who have been here, working hard here for years. I don't think we should go after. If people have been here and are working, I think there should be some grace. But to allow criminals in, to allow ideologies in that are going to take down the American vision, I don't know. I don't get it. But that's what's coming. That's what's coming. There's no way my talking about it's going to change it. We are going to a world, AOC will be your president, and Biden let in 30 million, she'll let in 50 million. That's where we're headed. But in that environment, you're expecting, it's already going on, you're expecting that as people in power see all these people stealing, they're not going to do it themselves. Adina Friedman wants a plush job. She already has a plush job. Chuck E. Cheese Cromwell doesn't want it to end. And anybody at the SEC wants to go work for Goldman Sachs. It's the biggest ripoff outside of the military spending that you've ever seen. So you cannot believe the price of Railtown. Now, once it gets to $6, $7, $8, $10, you can start believing it. But anyway, Kuda guy, plan on buying more rail. I love it. I love it. I love that you buy it every day. I think that's right. Solomon Treasure, could you please explain if it gets bought out, what happens to the stocks? Well, I've got to leave in 5 minutes, but I'll try to finish in 10. Um, um, uh, Solomon, I'll give you my most likely scenario right now. I think Microsoft buys Railtown. I think Telus bids on Railtown but drops out early. I think Constellation Software bids on Railtown but drops out early. I think NVIDIA bids on Railtown, and yet I think NVIDIA may get distracted by other projects going on. So it's possible that Microsoft wins because NVIDIA is not paying attention. I don't know. But I think most likely is Microsoft buys Railtown. So does Microsoft pay a GitHub price, or does Microsoft pay a low price? It's going to depend on proof of concept. It's going to depend on, is there a bidding war? And it's going to depend on how critical the complete soup to nuts platform that Railtown has is to Microsoft's data centers around the world. If I had to guess, Microsoft would be willing to pay 1% of their market cap for Railtown in stock. So that would be, I didn't look up Microsoft, but let's say it's 30 trillion, it'd be $30 billion. But let's not go that high. Let's just say that Microsoft is willing to pay what it paid for GitHub or what IBM paid for Confluence. That is possible. Then you'll get $50 a share of Microsoft stock. But let's not go that high because it's too mind bending. I think it's possible, but it's too mind bending. Let's just say that Microsoft decides that they will pay what reasonable price for what LangChain as a comp is worth right now. Let's just say something like that. So let's say Microsoft pays $15, offers $15 for the stock of Railtown. I think Telus will offer 15. I think Telus can afford, be a big bet, but I think they can afford 15. I don't think Constellation Software would be there at that point. Could be. But at 15, I think NVIDIA would come running in. I think Amazon would come running in. A Cohere might even come in. So I don't know about 15 working. So maybe there's a miniature bidding war, and maybe it goes to $20 a share. And then you only have two companies. You've got Microsoft offering $20 in stock, and let's say you've got let's say you've got let's say you have NVIDIA offering $20 in stock. Well, Microsoft has cash flow. NVIDIA has cash flow too, but NVIDIA is in the middle of all this build out and everything. They may not be willing to put up cash. So Microsoft may say, all right, we'll give you $20 in stock and we'll give you $5 in cash. NVIDIA may say, we can't do that. I'm making these numbers up. So what would happen in that case? You would receive $5 in cash a share. I made it up. I'm not I don't know how plausible that is. But you get $5 in cash per share. You got to pay taxes on that as income. It's not a dividend. And I don't know, you'd have to check about long-term, short-term. I think it's just income, but you check with your accountant. The stock you receive, it would be a ratio, and you would just get stock of Microsoft. I mean, if it's $20 a share and Microsoft's selling at $400 a share, I guess you would, for every 20 shares of Railtown, you get 1 share of Microsoft. That would happen in your account and you pay no taxes. Obviously, if you sell your Microsoft, then you pay taxes, but you pay no taxes. So that's a brilliant uplift in your equity without having to pay taxes. Dixon Miazzo, have I ever visited the Eiffel Tower? What do you think of it? I think it's magnifique. Yes, I've been there. I have been there. I've been up it, under it, beside it, and around it. I think it's great. All metal rusts, so it's going to be a study in what we do about rusting. Apparently, we have 700 bridges in this country that need to be replaced. Rust. We haven't done a single thing about it. They should, all that corruption that goes on in military defense spending, they should just say, guys, girls, we're giving you these contracts to build aircraft carriers. The toilets don't work unless somebody threw a t-shirt down the toilet, the head. Why? And we've built these decks where the planes can't take off on the catapult because of the corruption. Why don't we, instead of letting you do that, why don't you come build our bridges, make sure they work, just put in the corruption. What do you need? We'll pay you, like we're paying the mafia to get it done. But anyway, Eiffel Tower is going to be a problem in the next years because of rust, but I like it. But thank you for letting me know who you are. I'll delete you. Not now. I'm going to sign off. I've got to go. I've got half an hour. So peace to everyone. Things are going to start getting easier, and you won't need me anymore.